Arjun Reddy sir, for sharing your expertise on identifying and remediating medical device malfunctions. Your insights have been highly informative and beneficial. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks again. Thank you, everyone.
So let's move towards our next session. Overview on Indian Medical Device Rules 2017. We had the privilege of hearing from Dr. A. Pramod Kumar. It's honor to introduce. Dr. A. Pramod Kumar holds a PhD from JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research 2018 and M Pharmacy from JSS University 2013 and a B Pharmacy from RJU HS 2010, making an accomplished healthcare professional, completed specializing training, earning postgraduate diplomas in pharmacovigilance 2013 and medical and poison information 2014. Recognized for outstanding contributions, Dr. A. Pramod Kumar has received honors such as Best Technical Associate Award from the Pharmacovigilance Program of India. Their dedication to research has earned them the Best Poster Award. Dr. A. Pramod Kumar, PhD, research focuses on strategies to prevent adverse drug reactions to antiretroviral medications in treatment-naive HIV patients, while the N-Pharmacy project
So who is okay?
Hello, sir.
Is someone operating our okay? Maybe one sec. Someone was doing something here from the team. Wait. You please go ahead, Dr. Sakina. You please go ahead.
Okay, sir. So with 40 publications boosting 160 Google Scholar citations and 30 conferences, Dr. A. Pramod Kumar guidance has significantly contributed to PharmD projects with 7.6 years of experience spanning IPC, a CRO and academia. Dr. Pramod Kumar is a valuable asset to healthcare and research. So I welcome Dr. A. Pramod Kumar and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sakina. So can you confirm if my voice is clear and audible?
Yes, sir. It is audible, sir.
Okay. So my slides are visible?
Yes, and we can see, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So next a few minutes, I'll be speaking on Indian Medical Device Rules 2017. So basically, if you see this Indian Medical Device Rules, it is a big document of around 225 pages. So to summarize in this short span will be difficult. So I have kept it short and I'll be explaining only the key points, what is present in this complete medical device rules. However, in this we have two things. One is chapters and another is schedules. So more emphasis was given to the various chapters that are present in this IMDR 2017. So this will be like your jurisprudence, more about the regulations. So my slides will be having more of content and it will not have any pictures and representations like figures. For more effective learning, you have to take some snapshots wherever you feel that this slide is very important for you. And this presentation will help you in getting some jobs if the company is oriented towards working in the regulations towards the Indian regulations. So with this, I will start my session. So this MDR 2017 was into existence from 1st of January 2018. So these rules basically will be applicable in respect to all the substances for in vitro diagnosis, which includes all these things which are mentioned, and also substances including mechanical contraceptives, and also various devices that were notified from time to time under the subclass of 4. So if you see these regulations, there will be some subclass 4. So whatever is there that are notified from the government, those medical devices will be covered into this. As the medical device industry is ever expanding, so more and more devices will be added on time to time. So always it is a dynamic clause for the subclass 4. So these things will be changing every year. So you can look into those aspects. And all the things of the section 3 of the DHC Act 1940. So as mentioned, there are total 12 chapters and 9 schedules that are present in this. So the chapters includes definitions.
Pramod sir, sorry to interrupt, but I
Yeah.
think your mic is quite close to your voice is disturbing. Yeah, echoing. Yes.
So is it clear now?
Yes, perfect now.
Okay. So we have even the classification of various regulations and authority, offices and bodies, manufacturing of the medical device for sale and distribution. So what is that chapter that includes, and also import of medical devices, labeling of medical devices, and 7 includes clinical investigations, followed by import or manufacture of a medical device which does not have predicate device, duties of medical device officers, registration of the laboratory for carrying out testing or evaluation, sale of medical devices, and also some miscellaneous which covers exports, validity of registration certificates and other things. And in schedules, as I said, I will not be covering the schedules in this session, but you can see what are the headings for that, which will be dealing about the parameters of the classification of the medical devices. And we have the fee payable for license, permission and registration certificate, documents required for the registration, duties and functions of the MDOs, and we have the quality management systems, then post-approval changes, and also we have the documents required for the grant of the license and requirements for the permission to import or manufacture. And what are all the exempted in this is present in the Schedule 8. So in these definitions, so total we have 42 definitions. So around 12 I have mentioned it here. So these are the very key essential definitions that you need to understand if you are looking into any medical device. So whatever regulations, not only for the Indian regulations, even if you are looking for the European or US regulations, so these terms are very much essential. So this verbatim will be same. So you can see what is meant by each of this definition is present here. So active diagnostic medical device, any active medical device used whether alone or in combination with other medical devices to supply information for detecting, diagnosing or monitoring, to provide support in the treatment of on any physiological condition, state of health, illness or congenital deformity. That will be considered under this active diagnostic medical device. Whereas active medical device, if you see, the operation of which depends on a source of electrical energy or any other source of energy other than the energy generated by human or animal body or gravity. And if you see what is meant by active therapeutic medical device, it is a device used whether alone or in combination with any other medical device to support, modify, replace or restore biological functions or structures with a view to the treatment or alleviation of the illness, injury or handicap. So there will be some minute differences between each thing. So you need to clearly understand what is exactly meant by active diagnostic medical device, active medical device and active therapeutic medical device. So they'll be using only this verbatim wherever you see the regulations. So you need to clearly understand. So for which device, what definition will suit best. And we have authorized agent, wherein the agent is a person, including any firm or organization, who has been appointed by an overseas manufacturer through a power of attorney to undertake import of medical device in India. So if the device is imported from the other country, so they'll be also giving some attorney to one person. So that person will be called as an authorized agent. And body orifice is any natural opening in a human body, including the external surface of an eyeball or any permanent artificial opening, such as stoma or permanent tracheotomy. This is anything you can consider it as a body orifice. Central medical devices testing laboratory, a medical device laboratory established or designated by the central government under Rules 19 and shall be deemed to be a central drug laboratory. So whichever is approved by the serious law, so that can be considered as a central medical device testing laboratory. And clinical evidence, An in vitro diagnostic medical device is all the information derived from specimen collected from human that supports the scientific validity and performance for its intended use. And also a medical device that clinical data and the clinical evaluation report that supports the scientific validity and performance for its intended use. Whereas if you see the investigation, it is a systematic study of an investigation medical device in or on human participants to assess its safety, performance, or effectiveness. So this is meant by the clinical investigation, wherein majority of the times you'll be looking into the safety, performance, or the effectiveness. Whereas in the evidence, the above definition will suit. And clinical investigation plan is a document which contains the information about the rationale, aims, objectives, design, and the proposed analysis to conduct methodology, including performance, management of adverse events, withdrawal, and statistical considerations and record keeping pertaining to the clinical investigation. So everything will be considered to be a single document that will be mentioned there. That is considered to be a clinical investigation plan. So it is not limited only to some certain aspects. Even the withdrawal and statistical considerations also has to be mentioned here. So it is a complete document. And if you see what is the clinical performance evaluation, so in the previous slide, you can see it is evidence and investigation. So here you can see about the performance evaluation. So it is nothing but the systematic performance study of a new in vitro diagnostic medical device on a specimen collected from human participants to assess its performance. And a CRO, any entity to whom a sponsor may transfer or delegate one or more of its function and duties regarding conduct of clinical investigation or clinical performance evaluation. So any third party who is doing this for the main sponsor, especially in terms of the clinical investigation and clinical performance evaluation, those body will be considered as a CRO. And in the conformity assessment, the systematic examination of evidence generated and procedures undertaken by the manufacturers to determine that a medical device is safe and performs as intended by the manufacturer and therefore conforms to the essential principles of safety and performance of medical device. So as we have seen in the previous session, right? So any deviation to these essential principles of safety or performance, then we can consider into the malfunction also, and also conformity assessment will be performed for that, before you confirm it as a malfunction. So that is it, the mention of the conformity assessment. Next, we have custom-made medical device, wherein a medical device made specifically in accordance with a written prescription of a registered medical practitioner specified in the relevant area under his responsibility for the sole use of a particular patient, but does not include a mass production of such device. So there are some medical devices wherein it is a custom-made, especially when you see for the dental and also for the some of the hip implants and other things, wherein it will be customized. It is not a one fit to all the patients. So all such are few examples wherein you can consider it as a custom-made medical device, wherein to use this, a specific prescription should be required from the treating physician or the surgeon. Then only the third parties or any sponsors will be doing as per the need for the patient. Intended use, the use for which the medical device is intended according to the data supplied by the manufacturer on the labeling or in the document containing instructions for use of such device or in promotional material relating to such device, which is as per approval obtained from the central licensing authority. And also if you see the loan license, a license issued for manufacturing a medical device by the state licensing authority or the central licensing authority depends again on the type of the device that the manufacturer is doing. That will be covered in the next slides. As the case may be to a person who intends to utilize the manufacturing site of the other licensing or manufacture the same medical device as manufactured by the licensee at that site. So that will be called as a loan license. So you can see here a medical device grouping, a set of devices having same or similar intended use or commonality of technology allowing them to be classified in a group not reflecting specific characteristics. So when you will say it as a long-term usage, if you are using more than 30 days duration, And to say it is a short-term usage of the medical device, it should be greater than 60 minutes and less than 30 days. And if to say it is a transient use only, it should be less than 60 minutes. So the usage of these medical devices based on this duration will decide to fall under these categories of long-term, short-term, and the transient use. The last slide for the definitions, if you see the near patient testing, wherein any investigation carried out in a clinical setting or at the patient's home for which the result is available without reference to a laboratory and rapidly enough to affect immediate patient management. So this can be considered as a near patient testing. So best example is the BP monitors. And the next is the notified body. A body, corporate or other legal entity registered under Rule 13 as a body competent to carry out the audit of manufacturing site, assessment, and verification of specialized category of medical devices for establishing conformity with standards. So these notified bodies are around 12, I could see. So current year, you can see if any updation is there from the CDSCO. So these notified bodies will be working closely with the CDSCO in doing any type of audit for any of the things. It is not particularly limited to the manufacturing site. It can be even for the verification on the specific category of the medical device for establishing the conformity also. So they have to align with all the standards of ISO. So in few slides, I have mentioned what are those ISO standards that you can see in the further slides. And also we have the post-marketing surveillance, wherein a systematic process to collect and analyze information gained from medical device that have been placed in the market. So how post-marketing surveillance will be done and how the complaints will be handled in industry will be dealt after the lunch hour. So a detailed session is there to understand how the complaints handling will be done in industry and what PMS will be exactly helping the industry to attain. And many times we use this predicate device, which is nothing but a device first time and first of its kind approved for manufacture for sale or for import by the central licensing authority and has a similar intended use, material of construction and design characteristics as a device which is proposed for the license in India. So that things will be called as a predicate devices. So it will be a first of its kind, but a similar intended use we have already existing in our country. So for that also they will be giving the license. So it will be given only from the central licensing authority. It is not from the state licensing authorities, but it is for the predicate devices. So that finishes the definition. That is about the chapter 1. So around 12 to 14 I have covered, but 42 definitions are there. In detail, you can read. The MDR rule is available. So if any doubts and all, you can always contact any of the speakers, so which will be aligned with these definitions to understand. And especially these are the things like predicate device, who will be having the authority like for the loan license. These are the very key things that anyone should know before reading the medical device rules. And categorization, as you have already seen. So Hari has covered that. In India, we call it as A, B, C, and D based on the risk. The categories were separated. So examples for low list like tongue depressors and anything, even for the cotton swabs and the things that we use in the general practice from the nursing staff. Low to moderate risk will be the class B, and moderate to high is always the invasive, like starts with your syringes and high level equipments that we use in the ICU level. So provided that central licensing authority may from time to time make additions or deletions in these device categories. So in such list of the medical devices or modify the class of any medical device. So you have to check on every monthly basis or every quarterly basis if there is any updation to any of the devices that we are using in our country based on the risk. So sometimes it will be notified also, and sometimes it will be categorized based on this risk also. So you have to keep on checking for this. So basically, if you see the essential principles for manufacturing these medical devices, the guidelines are issued by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in the central government, and keeping in view of the contemporary scientific and technology knowledge. So it is not that once it is issued, they will not be doing any changes. So once they get the scientific and technology knowledge from the scientists and the manufacturers, So they will be doing some updations also. So that is the work of the central government CDSCO. And also they will be looking more into the product standards for the medical device that are available and that are marketed in our country. And the medical device shall conform to the standards laid down by the Bureau of Investigation Standard. We call it as BIS, right? So this BIS will give the standards. So all the medical device has to compulsory comply with these standards that are given, or may be notified by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in the central government from time to time. So if some of the things are not there in the BIS standards, you have to always check with the central governments. So either of the thing, the compulsory the medical device has to fall in. Otherwise, it is deemed to understand that it is not having non-conformity. And also, no relevant standard of any medical device has been laid down under sub-rule 1. Such device shall conform to the standard laid down by the ISO or IEC. As you have seen, some of the softwares are also considered as a medical device as per the definition, right? So whenever you're using some latest softwares, you have to comply with the ISO or IEC if it is not mentioned in the BIS or in the CDSCO conformity standards. You cannot say that because it is not there in the BIS or the CDSCO standards, I will not be following any particular standards. Compulsory, everything is included in the ISO or IEC. So at that time, we have to fall under this category. So in case of the standards which have not been specified under sub-rule 1 and sub-rule 2, the device shall conform to the validation of the manufacturer's standards. So even though if you say it is not there in the BAS, it is not there in the CSO standards, it is not there even in the ISO or IEC, because you have come up with the new technology or something new, you have to have your own standards. Being a manufacturer, first of all, you should keep your standards that will be validated. So that validation is done or not, audit will be done by the CDSCO. So if none is giving any standards for your new technology or new device, so you should come up with your own validation, which will be audited by the regulators. So this is the main difference that you need to understand. I hope it is clear. So this is the key component. Because nowadays, if you can see, many startups are coming with so many new medical devices. So whenever you are unable to find anything, so first you develop your validation so that you will not have further any problems. And chapter 3 deals with the licensing authorities. So very essential thing is if you are dealing with the class C and D, high risk and also invasive things, central licensing authority will be mainly involved into all such thing of clinical investigations, approvals of investigation and performance evaluations. Whereas for the class A and B products, you can rely on state licensing authorities and you are free to stock, exhibit or offer for sale and distribution within the state. And national accreditation bodies will be certifying this NABCBs, that is nothing but the certifying bodies. And also the notified bodies, the certification bodies accredited by NABCB and notified by CDSCO will fall under these things. So they will be given with some licensing. So as I said previously, these people will be involved in doing any type of audits. So only these bodies or the notified bodies will have the right to do any type of audit apart from the CDSCO. As you know, CDSCO is a limited body. So if they want to do any large audits and all, they'll be taking the support of these notified bodies. And they have to register with CDSCO. So if any one of you want to have this notified body certification, you should be having a proper team for you. And then you can register with the CDSCO. Once everything is complying with their regulations, they will certify you. Organization is also a notified body. Then you will be free to do any type of audit in our country. And notified bodies, if you see why they are accredited under this sub-rule 1, because they shall be competent to carry out audit of manufacturing sites, especially for class A and class B, as I mentioned. And also they need to verify the conformance with the quality management systems. So this QMS is very much essential for any manufacturers in the medical device. So whether they are complying with these QMS standards or not will be also checked by these notified bodies. And any notified body accredited in sub-rule 1 shall, if it intends to carry out audit of a manufacturing sites for class 3 or class B products and all, to register with the central licensing authorities. So it again varies whether you are going to register with the state licensing authority also for the class A and B. And for C and D, as said, it is for the central licensing. In chapter 3, if you see, it deals with the central medical device testing laboratory. So the central government may or by notification establishes the central medical device testing laboratories for the purpose of testing and evaluation of medical devices, functioning as an appellate laboratory to carry out any further other function as may be specified assigned to it. And also without any prejudice to sub-rule 1, the central government may also designate any laboratory having facility for carrying out test and evaluation of medical devices as central medical device testing laboratory for the purposes specified in the sub-rule 1 again. So these labs to be accredited by the NABL. It is not that once it is established, it is like that. It has to be accredited by the NABL. Then the CDSO will give the permissions, and state and central government labs were exempted for 2 years till 2021. Then later they were also forced to go under this NABL. So anybody which is asked for the medical device testing laboratory has to fall under this accreditation. And it is not that once they are accredited, it is that they have a complete renewal process also. So they need to have a renewal process for the specified period. So next, if you see, again in the chapter 3 itself, we have for the 3A and 3B for the registration purpose. So A deals with the medical devices, and whereas if you see the 3B, the registration of class A non-sterile and non-measuring medical devices will be falling under this. So it's not only for this, any registration process, if you are looking into what is the thing that is present is the online portal registration is there from the Indian government. So that is called the Sugam portal. So you can always go through that, what are the things that are present in that. So that Sugam portal will help in registering with any of the medical device, even if it is same for the pharmaceuticals as well, the Sugam portal will be used. So here you have to mention your model number and name after giving your application, intended use, material of construction. In detail, you have to mention what is the complete details of the materials that you have used for designing this medical device, dimensions, very particularly, shelf life, sterility details, brand name if it is already registered, certificate of compliance to the ISO 13485, especially for the quality systems. So all such things are very much essential whenever you are going to register your product with the online things. So that is in brief about the chapter 3. So chapter 4 deals with the manufacture of medical device for sale or distribution. So here it is very useful if you are planning to work in any medical device industry. So they have to compulsory compliance with the 5th schedule, that QMS, that will come in the next one. No audit necessary prior to the grant of the license. So once it is granted, compulsory the audit has to be processed. Audit by the state licensing authority to be done within 120 days after the license was granted. So within 120 days, the state licensing authority will come to your specific organization for this license or renewal or not. Within the 20 days after their audit, if they see the quality management system is not appropriate as per the ISO standards, then the license will be removed after giving a certain notice period. It is not that immediately it is effective. They'll be giving some notice period. Within that period, you have to give your rationale or the justification. If not, the license will be removed. And also for class B devices, audit is done prior to grant of the license by a notified body. This is for the class B products. And notified body to report to the state licensing authority within 30 days of the audit. If they have asked for any further queries and all, it has to be furnished within this duration. In case of doubt that the device does not conform to standards of quality, both the licensing authority of state and central may direct a team of officers for inspection of the licensed site based on the documents and all, and also based on the device functionalities and all. If they are having still some queries that is pertaining, so they can send some team to inspect the site as well. So this is all mentioned in the sale or distribution. So before you do this type of things, you have to comply with all these standards. And if you see the applications for this class C and D, especially for the central authority, so they may use an expert to review the technical documents and perform an inspection within its team, or they may also avail the services of a notified body. It is not that always they will be doing, as I said earlier, the notified bodies can also be informed. And requirements for loan license, if you see the manufacturer site shall meet the QMS as specified in the Schedule 5, and also the appointment of the competent technical staff under whose direction the manufacturer activity shall be undertaken. So if you see here, the qualification criteria shall be degree in engineering or in relevant batch or like pharmacy and science. So with minimum 2 years of experience in manufacturing or testing, diploma holders should have the not less than 4 years of experience. Testing staff, if you see, the minimum 2 years of experience should be there. Inspection of the grant of license or loan license for the class C and D within 60 days, and no inspection required if manufacturer is already licensed for similar product. For investigation of medical devices or new IVD applicants. So IVD anyways in the afternoon session we have, so you can understand the exact differences and all. So much will be covered in that. And also no license is granted without any such permissions. So conditions for manufacturing. License shall be produced when requested by the medical device officer, and also inform SLA and CLA for any suspected or unexpected serious or adverse events and action taken, including recalls. Approval required before any major change as specified in the 6th schedule if it is required to carry out. So some of the regulations, if you are seeing here, will also include the detailed understanding of the schedules as mentioned. So that schedules will be a completely different session. Maybe sometime later we can take it in some separate forum, out of the schedules and all. So chapters will be having some information, whereas the schedules will be given some more detailed information. So sometimes in some of the components, it will be linked. So you have to understand even the schedules to get complete understanding of the chapters. So each batch of the product shall be tested prior to the release. Audit or inspection book to be maintained to enable notified body or medical device officer to record observations and non-conformity. It is not that once it is observed, it is like that. It has to be properly documented as well, and it has to be maintained 1 unit from each batch of invasive medical device and IVD for reference for a period of 180 days after expiry of the batch. So if manufacturing activity is closed for more than 30 days, you have to compulsory inform the respective authorities why it is closed and all has to be properly mentioned. And if you see for the low risk, the authorities may carry out unannounced visit not less than 2% of total audits carried out by notified bodies within the state for the class of the device. And the validity of the license will be for the 5 years, and then you will be asked for the renewal here. And if you see the test license to manufacture for testing and evaluation of the clinical investigation, so you have to provide some details that is about the same thing like how I have shown previously. It includes the description, intended use, material of construction, list of equipment, and qualified personnel who is going to use that. Copy of manufacturing license, approval for such research from any government body, and test license which is valid for the 3 years. All such things has to be furnished for this clinical investigation and the testing. And also some conditions to be met, which includes devices exclusively for the purpose of clinical investigation, and allow medical device officer to make unannounced visits. So unannounced visits will be there in the audit purpose. So we have to compulsory allow at that particular point of time itself. And also everything will be recorded, and that record of quantity manufactured, tested, and stopped has to be properly documented. And manufacture of medical device for sale or distribution in the same chapter if you see. So granting a license to manufacture class A medical device in forms MD5, that is the form. So not as such will be required for the student level, but for the industry level, these are the forms that they need to look into. And for class C and D, apply to the CLA directly, wherein the form 7 and 8 will be used. And to get a grant of a license in form MD9 or loan license in the form MD10 will be used. Competency for technical staff should be properly evaluated. Even that is included in your audit. So you have to provide all the degree details and the experience details. Prior permission when there are changes in the product or the constitution within 30 days to the change. Sometimes you'll be changing your material based on the complaints that you receive. So at that time it has to be immediately informed to the authority. Next, what you will be getting, right? What is the qualification of this technical staff should be, if they have to involve in this audit or also during the clinical evaluation purpose. So degree in engineering, especially they look for the biomedical engineering, or in relevant branch such as pharmacy, or in science in appropriate subject from a recognized university, and shall have experience of not less than 2 years in manufacturing or testing of the medical devices. Then if it is a diploma, it should be in engineering or relevant branch, or in pharmacy as well, diploma in pharmacy from a recognized institute, and shall have the experience of not less than 4 years. So for if you are a degree holder, it is 2 years. For the diploma holders, it is a 4 years. That is the only difference. And appoint a competent technical staff with a degree or diploma in engineering or in pharmacy, as mentioned, with these years specified, and whose direction and supervision the testing activity of a medical device shall be undertaken before you furnish details to the authorities. Either it can be state or central, both the things. It has to be well documented and undertaken. And if you see the import of this medical device, that deals with the chapter 5. So application for the grant of import license completely will be dealt in this chapter, wherein the MD14 form will be used. So fees to be paid by the importer if CLA feels that some tests need to be conducted will be additional. So inspection of these overseas manufacturing sites. So many countries, like you can see from the Australia, Canada and all, we are going to receive. From these countries, if you are getting the medical devices, there is no need to have any clinical investigations, and if it is approved by the local regulator. So it means that if your device is already approved by the US or European region, Japan, Canada and Australia, these countries, there is no need to perform any clinical investigations in our country. For other countries, you need to perform the clinical investigation. This is a very important thing whenever you are going to import the medical device. Otherwise, apply for MD16. So license granted in the form under MD17 will be done. And also when importing, additionally, the quantity imported, date of import, invoice or statement along with the consignment is very much required. And also it has to be passed through the customs clearance. Then only it will be allowed in our country. So this is a very important thing. Once you should be having all these forms that will be completely evaluated by the customs duty present in the particular import site. It can be any part in the country. So everywhere the customs will be there for this medical device. Some separate team is there. They'll be looking into these details. Any non-conformity or any non-compliance to any of this process, they'll be immediately informing to the central licensing authority. Then they'll be coming into action. So import of investigational medical device by government hospitals or statutory medical institutions for treatment of a patient is also falling under this. So such import shall be exclusively for a particular patient. Record of the name of the manufacturer, quantity imported, date of import. So what two things are there here, if you understand? One is from the distributor side, one is from the directly hospital or the person wants to get the new device into the country. So at that time also they have to have some prescription with proper name and other details mentioned with the diagnosis and everything. Then with the discretion of the customs or the central licensing authority, the person is free to use that, at least for the class C and D especially. And also small quantity of medical device allowed, which is otherwise prohibited for personal use, subject to the following conditions. The device carried is personal baggage of the passenger and declared in the customs, intended for the exclusive use of such passenger. All such what I have mentioned. Permission is granted upon satisfactory review of the complete application itself. If not, will not be allowed in the country to use that. If manufacturer license fails to comply with any condition, the licensing issued may be cancelled or may be suspended also if it is applicable for the organizations or the small firms. CDSO may direct the licensee to destroy the device and stock in presence of any officer from the CLA. So if you are not adhering to that, definitely you need to destroy the devices that you have imported. There is a provision to appeal against the order within 30 days. If there is discrepancy, you can provide further details within 30 days period itself. In chapter 6, the next one, if you see, deals with the labeling of the medical devices. So everything, if you see for any medical device in the previous session, as you have seen, he has mentioned inner cover and outer cover. So the labeling components will vary. It is again a detailed thing. What are the components that are present in any medical device? So main thing that we look for is the many of the things like unique device numbers. What is the batch number? Country of the import or who is the distributor? All such details has to be properly mentioned. Whether any marking is there from, if it is from the EU, we have to check for the EU marking is present or not. So many things will be varying from country to country. For our country, as I'm doing only IMDR, we have to have this name of the medical device, details necessary for the user to identify the device, name of the manufacturer with complete address, and also the correct statement about the net quantity in terms of weight, measure, volume, number of units, so on. So based on the, again, the device type that we are going to use, month and year of the manufacture and expiry. Alternative, the labeling shall bear the shelf life of the product also. So you should not be get confused what is the shelf life and what is the expiry life. So all the such things will be there, which you need to have the complete understanding from the definitions part. So for the UDI, as mentioned, so device identifier means a global trade item number. So it is compulsory, has to be there. So effect from such date as the central government may specify a medical device approved for the manufacture or sale for the distribution. So we have to give the production identifier as well. Means a serial number will be given along with the lot number or batch number. Software as a medical device version, then you have to mention the version number also. If it is a equipment, you have to mention the model number. What are the updates in that? So based on that, we can understand. And also manufacturing or expiration date. So if you see the medical device whose shelf life is less than 90 days is not allowed to be imported if it is having less than 40% of residual life. So that is the period of thing that we need to understand. So always it is ideal that if it should be having more than 6 months of the thing, because less than 3 months, they are not going to allow that. And also for the medical device whose shelf life is between 90 days to 1 year shall not be allowed to be imported if it has less than 50% of the residual life. So you have to understand what is this 40% residual life and 50% residual life, which is mentioned in the definition again. So based on that, you can see this rule will be applied and it will be changed. And for the IVDs imported for the clinical investigation or performance evaluation shall be kept in containers with product code number, serial number, date of manufacture, use before date, storage conditions, and name and address of the manufacturer. Even if it is same for the IVDs, if you see all such things, 80% of the similar requirements will be mentioned. And in the chapter 7, if you see permission granted by the CLA, the ethical committee grant for the permission like MD22 and MD23 will be there. So the CLA may in public interest abbreviate, differ or waive the requirement of animal data or clinical data for conducting clinical investigation for reasons to be recorded in writing before granting permission to conduct clinical investigation. So the major thing again here based on this chapter 7 you need to understand is, so many regulations like how you see in the DNC Act or for the pharmaceuticals will be very limited. But for the medical devices, it is not the same thing. You have a combination of products along with the drug and the medical device, only medical devices ranging from all the type of risk and also softwares we are using. And also so many other things are involved in the medical devices. If you see someone will be using some medical device using the content available in the bed shore of the sea. So at that time, we don't know exactly what is that. It is a natural product. It is a product derived from any of the marine animal. So many things has to be cross-checked. So all the times it is a very challenging for the central licensing authority to exactly categorize what type of thing it falls under and also what application it is having in the human, how much risk it can happen. So many of the medical device industry, they say it is only for the external use. But what is the long-term implications, we don't know. So before granting the license, so an expert panel will be drawn into the consideration. So once they give the further permission, then the CDSO will take the necessary decisions. Otherwise, it is very complex whenever you are going to deal with the medical devices. So therein, this type of in vitro diagnostics are also on the other clinical performance evaluation too happens. Otherwise, it is not, or common scale cannot be applied for doing this clinical performance evaluation. And also we have some conditions for the permission. So again, this I'll be sharing, but one thing important is, if you see, adverse events during clinical trial to be reported within the 14 days. So you can check, and also the clinical investigation to be initiated only after approval of the plan by the registered ethical committee. So the premises shall be open for the inspection by the CDSO all throughout the trial, and also investigation to be initiated within a year of enrolling the first participant. It is not that you will be waiting for all the participants to get recruited. You have to do that based on the timelines that were given. And every person, sponsor, CRO or investigation shall, if required, disclose the name and address of all the persons involved in the clinical investigations. So during this period, you have to disclose who are the end users, because sometimes we need to understand what is the AE that is happening to these persons, and also whether it was properly explained to them or not, to check further all the things has to be given for. Because we don't know, right? The CRO, if all they have closed it, it is the responsibility of the CLA to follow up with the patients. And approval from the ethical committee, as already said, source and quantity of the samples which shall be used during the evaluation, all should be properly mentioned. How much quantity and which patient was given with how much number. So in-house performance evaluation, the data used should be having the stability, specificity, sensitivity, repeatability, and reproducibility. And for the clinical performance evaluation, in the same chapter, if you see, the list of laboratories or other institutions taking part in this evaluation study. So it is not that if you're doing from the 3 sites and giving only the details of one site, it is not like that. All the details has to be given. Scheduled duration for the evaluation in case of devices for self-testing, the location and number of laypersons has to, whoever is involved, has to be given in accordance with the approval, clinical performance evaluation plan, and good clinical practice guidelines. So this GCP also has to be followed whenever there is a involvement of this performance evaluation. They will also look into that. And for the performance evaluation, it has to be registered with the Clinical Trial Registry of India, CTRI is there. So in the CTRI, it has to be registered before enrolling for the first participants for such clinical performance evaluation. The result of clinical investigation may not be required to be submitted where the investigational medical device is approved by the regulatory authorities. So there is no evidence or theoretical possibility on the basis of existing knowledge or any difference in the behavior and performance in the Indian population at that time. And also the application or the applicant has given an undertaking in writing to conduct post-marketing clinical investigation with the objective of safety and performance of such investigational medical device as per protocol approved by the Central Licensing Authority. This is for the import of manufacturer which does not have predicate devices. If it is predicate device available, as said in the previous slide, so you'll be having the process, then you can follow that. If the predicate device is not there and you are importing, then it will be like this. So this is already covered, the import for the IVD. So next one, if you see the medical device testing officer's responsibilities or even for the notified bodies. So they shall cause the sample of medical device or portion thereof tested or evaluated as sent in a sealed package by the medical device officer. And these duties are subject to the instructions of CLA or SLA based on the class of the device again. So it shall be the duty of the medical device officers to inspect not less than once in a year. And also product which is a big and cannot be sent to the medical device testing officer, then the officer has to port into the site. It is not that always the new scanning machines and all can be sent right to wherever the medical device testing officer is available. At that time, the officer has to come up to the site for testing that. Other duties includes the confiscation of the medical device, implements or implants or machineries, disposal of confiscated medical device based on the certain period. If it is not justified, then they have to also dispose that as per the standard operating procedures given by the CDSO. Receipt for samples of medical device where fair price tendered is refused, and also certifying copies of seized documents. These will be the additional responsibilities of this medical device officers. And also, if you see the registration of the laboratory for carrying out test or evaluation, they shall be NABL accredited and apply in Form 39. Registration is granted in the Form 40 and condition similar to 17025, which is nothing but the international standards specifying requirements for quality and competence in testing and calibration laboratories. Surprise checks may be done by the officer when required. And what will be the lab requirements? Constitution of the medical device testing laboratory, premises showing location and area of the different sections, qualification and experience of the technical staff employed for testing when the person is in charge, list of the equipment that were completely involved in this clinical performance, valid accreditation certificates. Not only these limited to these things, but also it should be well ventilated. Some you can see in the GCP guidelines whether the IC was preferred for the equipments that requires that and adequate space is provided or not. So all such things also matters for these laboratory requirements. In addition, for the animal house requirements, there are some separate set of things. The animal shall be periodically examined for their physical fitness. Applicant shall provide for isolation of sick animals. So there should be some separate room. Many of you might be understanding this, even for the pharmacology in your institutions, it will be there. So 50% all the same even for this animal house requirements, so that you can read upon. But the applicant shall ensure compliance with the requirements of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, that is 15 of 1960 Act. So this should be adhered by any of the animal house requirements is maintained by the medical device industry. So the applicant shall make proper arrangements for disposal of the carcasses of animals in a manner as again specified and which should not be causing any hazard to the public health, because you are doing so many tests in that and it should not cause any public harm. So that should be taken care properly as per the proper disposal of the considering the hazards. Sale of medical device not applicable for the academic fraternity, so I'm not going much details into this. And when you have to do the recall. So basically when you will be doing the recall of any product, when there is some malfunction observed and also they think that entire batch was having some problem, then they will be informing immediately. So that system should be very robust. How you can immediately call back if there is any discrepancy or any problem that has been arrived from the different countries during the import as well. So complete documentation should be there in order to perform the proper recall of the products. And last one, we have the miscellaneous, where as I said, it will be the export of the medical device, how you have to do the export of any medical device, what should be the fee that has to be paid, and who will be doing the license issued prior to the MDR validity till its expiry. So if you see, it is 18 months from the date of notification of these rules, whichever is later, and it is subjected to change based on the device as well as mentioned. So that finishes your chapters. So in the schedules, only thing is highlights I have kept so that I can wind up this session. So parameters based on the non-invasive medical device which come in contact with your injured skin or not, that is the main thing. Then is non-invasive medical devices for channeling or storing the substances. So based on these two things, it will vary. Another thing is modifying composition of the substances that you are using, and other non-invasive medical devices will be falling under this. So certainly if you read these things for the respective definitions that are subheadings which is mentioned here, so based on that initially you can categorize. If you are working in some device industry, if you have some doubt, these rules will be helping you. And whenever it is there is so many notified bodies that are present, you can directly reach out to them, or else you have the medtech zones. So they will be giving some consultation services. So you can reach out to this medical consultancy technical zones, wherein they will take care entire filing of these procedures with the Sugam portal and also dealing with the regulators. So in that way, it will be helpful if you want to import any specific device, or also if you want to export that. And also as for the orifices, as I said, it's not for the transient use. So these are all the parameters. The slides I'll be sharing so that you can read in interest of time. So all these are the parameters which is in very detail. So till here we have all these parameters. And also for the incorporating animal or human cells, tissues or derivatives, we have to be specific here. Cells, tissues or derivatives of cells are any combination thereof of animal or human origin, which are have to be rendered non-viable, or also you have to see any microbial or recombinant origin is present or not. For this also, you have to follow this parameter. This is for the fee structure. You can see just for your understanding. For the registration of notified body, it is not very huge amount. Only the technical aspect should be there, and you have to be getting trained in all the ISO certifications. So once you are trained with all the team for this ISO certification of QMS and also the other things, so this amount you can pay and you can register, and there is some certain amount for the retention of the notified bodies, and this is for the audits and other things, getting the licensor or loan license. These are the things that are specified. Even it is available in the CDSO website. You can go and check it. What is the fee structure for the other things? And if you see the documents required for getting the registration for this notified body. So if you have any other specific team which are interested, and again, it is not for the academics, but these are the things you should be having: the quality manuals, all the standard operating procedures, data for the technical personnel. Undertaking any conflict of interest with the employee directors or notified bodies shall have trained employees and adequate knowledge and integrity. And what is the procedure for audit? So record post-approval changes to establish conformity, already covered in the previous slides. Inform the manufacturer about the observed non-compliance without hiding any of the small things. And you have to give within 30 days. So again, you can do the changes. That's not changes, not in the in terms of audit process, but in the manufacturing things. Then again, you can apply for that. But if you don't do, or if you are having non-compliance, then again, complete license will be cancelled. So that is the harm that can happen. And also the notified body, after assessment and verification, shall submit detailed report giving its finding. So based on that, the licensing authority will take the decision. It is not that once the notified body has given some information, so they will be cancelling it. If it is valid still to continue, you can continue the license. So import of the devices. So always it is taken that power of autonomy to accompany an application for issuance of import license. So whenever you are importing, there should be proper documentation. Always you have to go with the trained consultancy for getting these details. And schedule 4 again deals with this all these things of documents to be submitted for the getting the license. So these are the interlinked, just that much you can see. And this is for the plant master file. This is a mandatory document. Compulsory it should be there for any type of audit on any type of import, export. This is the very key document that should be thoroughly followed. So what are the components and all of you go read if you are attending for any interview future for the medical device industries. So all such things should be mentioned, self-understood. These are, you can even the smaller things like storage, contract activities, everything has to be mentioned. So if you see this master file, all the details about that medical device can be understood. So once you are proper about this device master file, then you'll be understanding all the chapters and schedules which you can apply in the regulatory aspect. So these are the things: risk analysis. So compliance to ISO 10993, even for the software I said, right? Like that, for each and everything, compliance has to be mentioned for the ISO. So what are the various things for the ISO standards? I will share one master PPT that will be used for all the young aspirants. So keep doing the certification things. So government is also giving the certification if you go through that, but it takes like 3 months to 6 months of the duration. So once you are certified, any medical device industry will interested to take you. So device master files for IVDs is separate. So these are the things that has to be present. So this is for understanding. I understand the additional time I have taken more than 15 minutes. So this is the infrastructures, even this it matters. So product realization has to be there. How you collect the feedback. So always I said, right, feedback is always not a negative. If it is negative, it will be covered under compliance handling. If it is a positive, it is a for positive feedback. how the purchasing will be done, everything will be documented. So I understand it is a lunch hour, so you have to come back by 2 again. So with this, I will stop my presentation. Thank you. Because
Thank you,
as I
sir.
said, this jurisprudence like regulations is to be understood after reading very key components, as I have mentioned. Because if you see any consultancy, how they train the medical device industry people is, it is a 2 weeks workshop completely, how you need to understand the Indian medical device regulations. So summarizing in a 1 hour, I have tried my level best in giving the key components, what all to be understand being an aspirant. So these components, if you look into, you can answer any type of interview questions. So I will definitely sure these components only will be answered by any of the team that is taken care. So thank you with that. If any 1 or 2 quick questions we can take.
Yes, sir. We have one query, sir, from Vishal. Does the Indian Medical Devices Rules 2017 include provisions for the implementation of unique device identification system?
Yes, as it is included. So and also if you see from the 24 in the coming May 2024, so UMDR rules are changing, right? So from the regulations. So the same way, even if it is not done by the Indian companies, so government has given some time. So within some duration of the next couple of years, everyone has to follow this. So now the every audit and all will be happening, but it is not completely done from the state licensing authorities, but it will be stringent in coming years, considering that not all the medical device was completely trained in that, but still every company is looking into this and they are changing their things. But answer is yes for that question.
We have another question from Ritika Arvind, sir. Sir, what obligations do manufacturers have regarding adverse event reporting, and how is this information used to ensure device safety?
Yeah, as you know completely about the pharmacovigilance, right? So same thing for the medical device as well. So whenever an adverse event is happening with the use of your medical device, it again depends how severe it is. So how you will analyze that? By doing the causality assessment, whether the device is really involved in causing that harm to the patient or not. So for that, so many examples are there based on the risk of your device. So once if it is considered to be a high risk, you have to immediately inform to the regulator. So the regulator, they will inform to the manufacturer if you are not informing to the manufacturer. So manufacturer will send one person to see exactly what has happened. That is called field safety person. So that field safety person will come and inspect the device, what has really happened, and he will be giving some CAPA actions. So initially, what is the action taken is that hospital or the institution who are using the high level equipments, invasive things, they should not repeat the same thing to the next patient. So immediately some CAPA actions will be given. So what is CAPA and all already have seen in the Nagarjuna session. So once that is done, regulator will come into action. If there is some provision that it can repeat to the other persons and all, initially they will ask for the detailed information. They will take their action based on the regulator's information. So a regulator also, as I said, they have a specific screening or expert panel. They will be giving the information, what has to be done with this. Then of course, if the harm is more, as how you ban the drug, the same thing will happen for the medical device to modify that if any it is related to the manufacturing, or they have to completely stop using for a certain particular period unless they prove again it is a efficient. So there is a long process. This is in just how you can do that.
Thank you, sir. Rashmi Adhikari is asking, how does India's medical device regulatory framework align with international standards and regulations, and what efforts are being made to harmonize these standards?
Yeah, so good thing to ask. I hope the student level you'll not be knowing, but if you have asked this question, you have some understanding about the regulatory aspects. So very good to ask this. So thing is like if you see our Indian Medical Device Regulator 2017, so majority of that is adopted from the EU regulations. So if you see also or compare our IMDR with EU, you'll not feel much difference. 80% will be remaining same. So the first point is there is no much difference in that adoption of the regulations. So I can say it is well aligned with the international standards. That is the first point. Second thing, our notified bodies are increasing, and also So many suggestions were given to our Indian regulators from different stakeholders. It is not that they are just taking that, they are actually considering that, and whenever it is applied, they are passing the gazette notifications, and also they are trying to change that modification. So after 2017, the next update is also coming, or also come, I feel. So after a period of 5 years, so it is completely updated. How many notified bodies were there previously, and now if you see, there is a huge increase in the number of the devices, also notified medical devices. So likewise, much actions were taken and well harmonized it is done. So there is no doubt that we are less than any other international standards. And also if you see for the companies what rules they have kept, the central licensing authority, they have to pass through the ISO. And as you know, ISO, it is not an Indian, it is an international standard. So everything is in role or in align with the international standards. There is no doubt whatever the medical device our Indian manufacturers are doing, it is well aligned with the any like any other country. So there is no problem in utilizing that concerns of the safety. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Muskan Jaiswal is asking, how are medical devices classified under the Indian medical device rules? And what are the criteria for determining their classification?
Yeah, for that only in all sessions, everyone mentioned it. It is basically ABCD. If you have missed that, so and how we categorize that also, I have clearly mentioned in my one of my schedule. So it is not only on based on one particular thing. If it is for the orifice, how you are going to do. If it is a non-invasive, how it is done. So based on that, it will vary. So if you say the device, then again we can see what type of category it falls under. So to answer in Chris, it is A, B, C, D, low level risk to high level risk, wherein A and B are non-invasive, C and D are invasive risk.
Sir, next question, Ashampreet is asking, sir, how do the rules address ethical consideration and patient safety in the context of clinical trials for medical devices?
Yeah, as you have seen, for any performance and evaluation, you have to first register with the CTRA, as I have shown in one of my slide. So when you are registered, you have to comply with the ethical committee things that are present. So once everything is compliant only, then it will be released into the market. So during that phase, definitely the evaluators will look into the whether it is ethically approved to carry out this type of device trial or not. So that will address your problem. So as you are registering with the CTRA, then it is understood that ethical considerations are well taken care.
Okay, sir, still two questions are there, sir. Shall I allow?
Yeah, you can take, even though we exceeded time, but questions are there, so you can ask.
Yes, sir. What are the labeling and packaging requirements outlined in the Indian medical devices rules? And how do they contribute to patient safety and device traceability?
Yeah, that is very important, right? To understand what is the labeling. Because first of all, you have to understand what is the category of the medical device. If you are not having any information on that, you will fail to understand what type of category or from who is the manufacturer and other things. Why we need to understand that again? If some event has happened, you have to immediately respond back to the manufacturer or to the distributor, right? So even though that particular matter of the distributor and manufacturer should be mentioned in the device. So the labeling requires so many things. So sometimes there will be some additional information that will be mentioned. So to certain kind of population, it has to be not mentioned, or what is the number of things that is mentioned in here. So the components are missing means again you can understand. So there is some defect in the packaging. So all such things will be mentioned. So without looking into the label, you can understand what is mentioned inside the packaging. What are the various components? So if you see the medical device, it is not a single thing. Sometimes you will get the medical device wherein you have to fix 10 to 15 components, then it will be a usable thing. Even for the glucometer, right? You have the different components like a BP monitor, will be having the different components like 3 to 4. Once you fix that only, it will be a one medical device. So whether that all components are mentioned, what is the compatibility and all will be mentioned only in the label. Hence the labeling understanding is very much required to, especially for the safety.
Thank you, sir. Tanveer Ahmed is asking, can you explain the important export regulations for medical devices under these rules, including licensing and registration requirements?
Yeah, the import and export, as I have shown, So the two chapters of the 7 and 8 will be dealing with. So these chapters, if you see, that is a in the 220-page document, this only will cover almost like 20-25 pages. So to summarize, it is not a one point how we can follow for the licensing or the loan licensing. So what are the things that we have to take care for the import of this medical device and when we have to do the export of the medical device. So main thing, if you can see, so for A and B, you can just understand there will be some regulations. If it is C and D, some more regulations has to be compliant with. So what are the things and all is already given in the chapter 7 and 8, wherein you can look into that.
Last question, sir. How do manufacturers ensure compliance with these QMS requirements? And what role does certification play in this process?
Yeah, so industry, if it is not having the QMS, especially this 13485, so they will not be allowed to, first of all, market their product. So any auditor who comes for this checking of the quality management, they will be asking whether the site is having the certification for this ISO 13485 and also the all the technical staff who are involved in that has undergone that or not. If it is not there, first point itself only, they will not be valid. So once companies having this certification of ISO, then it is understood that they are compliant to the 13485, which is well versed for the QMS standards for the medical devices. In addition, also, if maybe for specific countries, if it is there, in addition, that they have to follow. I am saying only for the India, wherein we follow this one. If it is for the US and all, you need to check in addition to the ISO, what the country has any specific regulations to look into the QMS standards.
Dr. A. Pramod Kumar sir, thank you for shedding light on the Indian Medical Device Rules 2017. Your expertise in this area is crucial and we are grateful for your contribution. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you, everyone. Till now, thank you, Pramod sir, and all the participants. And I think, yes, Dr. Vimal Arora is also here. So, guys, we'll take a short lunch break of 35 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. That's okay. So we can join back by 2 o'clock sharp, and we'll see you again in the afternoon. Let's have a good lunch and see you guys again at 2 p.m. with the same link. I mean, we are continuing. We are not stopping the meeting, so you can join anytime. So we will start at 2. Take care, guys. We'll see you.